We said our prayer, and we asked the Lord to protect us, and we asked the Lord that His will be done.
But we serve a just God, and I rest easy in knowing that He's sovereign, but He's just. And so let the Lord handle that.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I don't have a smartphone anymore. You can learn more about that in my past videos, why I don't have a smartphone anymore. I now have a flip phone and I am actually feeling a lot better mentally. However, this clip of Erika Kirk found its way to me. I was scrolling on YouTube on my laptop and I got spooked. I was like, what is this? Why is she looking at me like that?
We said our prayer, and we asked the Lord to protect us, and we asked the Lord that His will be done.
But we serve a just God, and I rest easy in knowing that He's sovereign, but He's just. And so let the Lord handle that.
If you're a body language expert and you know how to decode facial expressions and what she's doing with her eyes, please make a video on that. Some people have said that she's a trained actor, and I believe that because, as Candace Owens revealed, she was in a movie and that movie never aired. But yeah, she tried to be an actress as well. She is trying too hard to be authentic, and she comes out as inauthentic. And this interview with Barry Wise, that was a mistake because everyone was saying that Israel is behind Charlie Kirk's killing.
Stop. That's it.
Her doing the interview with the Zionists was a wrong move, but she just had to prove to Israel that she is still with them, although Charlie didn't want to be involved with the donors anymore because they were threatening him, and she knew that, and she still went to this interview. Think about that. She knew that Charlie didn't want to be involved with them anymore, and she still went to this interview after he was assassinated. Like, she is pissing on his grave. Another thing that is bothering me about Erika is that she claims to be a Christian, and in her leaked meeting with her staff, she told them that she would never fire them, that she will keep them as long as possible. You know, like, she was just lying because now she did a purge at TPUSA and she fired everyone who is doubting the narrative about Charlie's assassination.
My name is Aubrey Leitch, and I am the former public relations manager for Turning Point USA. And I was a part of the recent kind of mass termination group at Turning Point and was let go about 3 weeks ago. And at the time of my release, I was working for the ATK company, which is spokesman Andrew Colvet's private business that contracts out with the Turning Point kind of ecosystem. So encompassing of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. I was working directly for him. Prior to that, I did work for Turning Point USA. So I've been with the organization since 2021. So my boss, Andrew Colvet, and I had a very close working relationship. I talked with him on a weekly, if not daily basis. My tasks were assigned by him to me. Working directly for him was a challenge and very intimidating because, you know, he was Charlie's right-hand guy, always in Charlie's ear, constantly. And so it was very important to me to be an impressive and loyal employee to Andrew, to which I believe I certainly was. I did so many things for that company. I worked many, many hours outside of my general kind of understanding of what this job entailed. And I had no problem with it because I wanted to work hard for both Andrew and Charlie, for my coworkers, and for the Lord. And that was the expectation that Charlie had for us as well, was to work very hard. I really believed in the mission of Turning Point and what we were doing. So taking you back all the way to 2021 when I first started working at Turning Point, let's be honest, being a conservative was not very cool or trendy back then. I think we really owe it to a lot of the work that Charlie put in and us at Turning Point put in. It kind of made conservatism more cool and trendy. But back then, it wasn't very cool. And so it was such a beautiful thing to be kind of plopped into this place of employment where everybody was so like-minded. It was just such a fun place to work. I had nothing but wonderful experiences right from the start. But then in, I'd say around 2022 or 2023, things kind of started to change. The energy kind of had shifted within the organization as a whole. And I believe that stemmed from Charlie sort of taking a step back and kind of more taking that true CEO leadership role. And Charlie decided to entrust some of these people that had been working at Turning Point and some outside hires to kind of take more of a leadership position within the organization. And I don't blame Charlie for that. I kind of understood where things were going. I wasn't a big fan of the energy and kind of environment shift, but I understood why things like this needed to happen. These people that Charlie put into leadership positions, I didn't always agree with, but I was certainly in no place to judge the discretion of my CEO. I trusted that he put the right people in charge, but over time I pretty quickly learned that some of these people in leadership positions were not people that I felt were either prepared or qualified to be or deserving to be in that role. Fast forwarding a few years from that time I just spoke about in 2022, 2023, all the way up until September 10th, 2025. Obviously, it was an extremely traumatizing day for everyone. I think pretty much everyone in the world with any amount of sanity was slightly traumatized by what they saw. It was an extremely traumatizing day for me. And I worked nonstop. My phone received hundreds of phone calls on September 10th, thousands of text messages, and multiple times I kind of got reprimanded for not being responsive enough to people, but I literally just could not keep up with everything that was happening between my email and my personal phone and my work phone. It was just non-stop. And I've seen a video of a coworker of mine who was also released from Turning Point. She spoke about 20-hour days. Yeah, absolutely. Those were very, very real, especially for those first 2 months post Charlie's assassination. In December, we obviously had America Fest here in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was nonstop work too. And so really it's just been go, go, go for almost the past 6 months with like no extra compensation, no breaks, no real, hey, let's grieve as a family, you know, let's take some time and we'll pick back up where we left off in just a little while. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Charlie was someone who always expected us to push through and to continue to work. However, I think that these are extremely unprecedented circumstances in which we were all under. And so that was a huge turnoff for me at the organization, was just how everything has been handled since 9/10. During the memorial, for example, I literally did not sleep for over 48 hours. Despite all of that, I want to go ahead and fast forward to my termination, which took place about 3 weeks ago. And I was brought into an office to have a discussion just generally about my employment. It was myself, Andrew Colvett, and Marina Minas, who is the CMO of Turning Point USA, who I used to work for when I was just full-time with Turning Point prior to joining the ATK company. They pulled me into a room and they sat me down and told me that there were 2 instances they wanted to talk to me about, one of which is pretty irrelevant to this timeline, so I'm just going to talk about the one, which was an Uber ride that took place allegedly in the months of either October or November of 2025. And what was told to me was that a Turning Point executive got into an Uber one day and they randomly just kind of started talking about Turning Point. And the executive asked the driver, what do you think about Turning Point? And the driver proceeded to tell the Turning Point executive, well, it's just really sad. I've heard the organization's really going downhill. There's not really a direction and nobody likes Erika. And the Turning Point executive proceeded to ask this Uber driver, well, who told you that? And the Uber driver told the Turning Point executive that his daughter was good friends with a girl that worked at Turning Point way back when in high school. They had spoken about Turning Point since Charlie's assassination, and that, you know, this was told to him by his daughter. And the Turning Point executive, of course, asked, well, what's the employee's name? And the Uber driver allegedly said, Aubrey. Aubrey who? Aubrey Leitch. And the story was presented to me as one of the reasons for my termination. And I was just a little taken aback because, number one, I'm not really friends with anybody from high school. And a lot of that has to do with my political beliefs. I've been a conservative since I was pretty much a junior in high school. And so I don't know who I would have told this story to. And it also doesn't even align with my true thoughts of Erika at the time. I've actually known Erika since 2013. We were doing pageants around the same time as one another. She was in the Miss USA organization and I was in the Miss United States organization. And we happened to cross paths at an event. So I've known Erika for quite some time, and my thoughts of her and nobody liking her do not align whatsoever with that timeline of October or November. So that was one of Turning Point's reasons for letting me go. So unlike my peers, I actually was given reason. However, there's another thing I kind of want to dive into. To protect myself, I am going to preface with Turning Point has not insinuated this. They never told me anything like this. However, I just have a gut feeling that I was terminated from Turning Point because I am questioning the narrative of what happened to my role model and CEO, Charlie Kirk, on the day of his assassination. What is being told to us in the mainstream media just really doesn't add up to me. And I'm really hopeful that one day it will. But as it stands right now, it just doesn't. And so I've been here in the background talking with people, expressing how I truly feel, because as an American citizen, I have the right to my freedom of speech and my freedom of thought. And I have a lot of concerns and a lot of questions about what took place that day and the events leading up to that day. It is from my own experience that you can't question the narrative and work at Turning Point. That is how I feel. That is how other people I've talked to feel. It goes against everything that Charlie ever stood for. Charlie was someone who did question things, who did challenge the narrative. And I know that if anything at all were to have happened to myself or another employee or any other peer within the Turning Point family, that Charlie would be doing the same thing if we were brutally assassinated in the way that he was. He would have never lived it down. And that is what I'm standing by as well. I am not going to just idly sit by and hope that the truth comes to light. I'm going to take action. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to talk to other people. And I refuse to apologize for having my own freedom of thought, which is something that Charlie ingrained in me and so many other young people. So really the purpose of me coming on here and speaking with you today is to just bring light to the situation of the treatment happening inside the organization. All of these people who have been terminated were the most hardworking, loyal, honest employees that Turning Point has ever had. And I know that because I've actually been at Turning Point longer than most people. It's public record. You can see it for yourself on these job websites. Turning Point's average length of employment is about 1.5 to 2 years. And so to be there for almost 5 years is actually quite some time. I've seen the media and marketing team, for example, turn over at least twice, consuming of about 40 people. And so I know that these people have been some of the most loyal, hardworking, and honest individuals to ever pass through the organization because I've been there, done that, and seen it all. I'm doing this for them. And I'm doing this for my friends who I consider family who are still there in hopes that they will start to receive better treatment by the leadership there because nobody deserves to be let go without cause. And frankly, it's a loss for Turning Point. We're all going to be better off because of this because we have removed ourselves from an environment that was no longer serving us. And in my opinion, no longer serving the Lord, which was Charlie's entire intention. The other purpose of this video is to bring to light the fact that although Turning Point is an organization that is all about freedom of speech and promoting that, from my experience, it is certainly not a place where that is something that is really accepted. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want this to be the ending result for me or for Turning Point. It literally breaks my heart to make this video. but I know that I owe it to Charlie and that this would be the expectation for me. And so that's why I'm doing it. Everything's for Charlie. Overall, it's really disappointing to see the direction in which Turning Point is going. And that is maybe one thing right that they got about this Uber ride is I'm not confident in where it's going as it stands right now. And I'm really disappointed by that because I packed up and moved my entire life back to my hometown solely for the purpose of working for Turning Point. That is how much I love this place. I just refuse to stand by, watch my peers be unfairly treated, and watch leadership attempt to take over something that was Charlie through and through, and something that he poured his heart, soul, and mind into building and creating and maintaining. I appreciate everyone who stuck around for the entirety of this video, and God bless you all.
I don't think that's very Christian of her. What do you think? Is it Christian to fire people without prior notice? And before that, they worked for 20 hours a day and their CEO just died and they're traumatized. And she's like, come into my office. And she just fired them. And she didn't even tell them why.
I mean, Frank, this is kind of wild.
I understand where you're coming from.
I know, and I know us to be here, and
yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not really content leaving for the day without further documentation, explanation, anything.
I understand, but it's time to go. We're just gonna say today's the last day, and that's what we're gonna operate from.
And there's nothing else y'all are going to offer me or plan to offer me. No, I'll send you an email about off-boarding instructions that essentially outlines rates that you did. So it sounds like more, and then detailing the pay and sit out.
And you will receive your year-end bonus from your performance for the year. So that will be in that paycheck too.
Okay. So, I mean,
yeah,
this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
No, and I know you're going to keep saying that in your defense. Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer. But yeah. I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but bend over backwards for this organization, to the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
It's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
no, I understand. It's time to.
So do I get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody? Or
nope.
No, and there's no explanation as to why I'm going to let go.
Right now, we're leaving all.
You know, and you're going to keep saying a different direction, but I'm trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my.
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave property?
Yes.
Due to what, Frank?
Because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat in this chair.
You're gonna do great things.
No, and I plan to.
I don't think your livelihood is being tossed out. I think you're very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. But at this time, it's time for you to go.
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming from.
This feels completely without emotion.
I feel very comfortable, but at this time, I have to ask feedback to ask you.
Frank, I'm really not content doing that.
Okay.
Because I know that when I leave there, my credential's not going to get back in, and I'm never going to have the opportunity to speak with somebody at this company as to why I'm being terminated after never having my performance questioned, after never doing anything wrong, after working tirelessly through the death of Charlie. This is wild. And you can, that's completely unsatisfactory. And so I have to go home tonight with no plan, no understanding, asking for clarity multiple weeks in a row. And I'm confused. I sat in your office when that whole GC situation happened. And you said, and I quote, that if you don't get that job, I'm going to personally think that you got screwed over. And now I'm sitting here and I'm getting screwed over in a completely different capacity with no explanation.
Yep, I understand where you're coming from, but at this time,
So there's going to be absolutely no explanation as to why I'm terminated. So when I go to my next job, I can't explain as to why this chapter is closed.
we're going in a different direction.
That's not an explanation, Frank.
It's the explanation that we're providing now
Providing from who?
from the organization.
From who, though? Justin? From Dylan?
From the organization. I only speak for the organization. I don't.
So different direction means what? Losing people that bend over backwards for the organization, losing people that would be willing to do anything for the organization, losing people that haven't done anything wrong. Like,
I understand what you're saying, and we're taking on it, but right now it's time for you to go. And so I've taken time to say your piece, and now it's time for you to go. So
like how? Okay. Well, this is.
They purged 30 to 40 people, and they were looking for a leak as well. They were looking for the people who are leaking information to Candace. And I think that Andrew Kovac was also a part of the purge. And maybe he was even the brains of the operation. They fired one girl for having screenshots of Candace's timeline of where Charlie was and the Egyptian planes on her phone. They panicked. They thought she was the leak and they fired her. But she wasn't the leak, as Candace said. Another interesting thing is that Dan Flood, whose father was involved in Fort Huachuca, got promoted. He didn't get fired for not protecting Charlie from being killed. Instead, he got a promotion. So Dan Flood was the guy who was sitting next to Charlie when he was killed. He was protecting Erika at the White House, and I'm wondering why she is surrounded by the wrong people all the time. Did she sleep with him too? That's my question. I also want to know, did she sleep with Andrew Kovac as well? We keep assuming things about her because of how she presents herself. Wearing leather pants at an event hosted by your late husband's company. I don't know, hugging J.D. Vance in the leather pants. Like, give me a break. What do you guys think of all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and see you in my next one. Bye.